Operations continue for February 12th's targeted launch of STS-119. Space Shuttle Discovery is now at the Kennedy Space Center's Launch Pad 39A, following its rollout from the Vehicle Assembly Building. The 7-member STS-119 crew, headed by Lee Archambault, will deliver to the International Space Station a pair of power-generating solar array wings and a truss element, the final components needed to expand the station's crew to 6. They'll also bring to the orbiting complex Koichi Wakata, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency's first resident station crew member, and return with astronaut Sandy Magnus after her 3-month stay in space. 2 members of the 119 crew are former teachers. Both Joe Akaba and Ricky Arnold taught middle and high school science. Both are making their first spaceflight, and both will perform spacewalks on this mission.
Teachers have to think on their feet. They have to adjust all the time, and I think that's part of what we do. We train for specific things, but you never really know exactly what's going to happen. And I think bringing that skill as a teacher is really beneficial. When we come back and when we're up on orbit, we may see things that these guys might not notice as an educator that we might want to make note of, and when we come back, we'll try to share that with teachers to help them inspire students.
Schools are big teams, and this is a big team that's going to pull off the mission. You have folks here, you have folks on the ground, we have our training team back here, and you need to be able to work well together. And all the folks here have really great people skills, and that's something you definitely need in a school as well.
Discovery is targeted to lift off on February 12th at 7:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Lunar Electric Rover, helping represent NASA in the 56th Presidential Inaugural Parade, was assembled by Johnson Space Center personnel following its arrival in Washington from Houston. The pressurized rover is a concept vehicle being developed for possible use by astronauts upon their return to the Moon by 2020. The vehicle will be joined in the parade by NASA astronauts who recently returned from a trip to the International Space Station. The STS-126 crew, commanded by Chris Ferguson, Expedition 1718 flight engineer Greg Shamatov, and a delegation of NASA employees will march with our armed forces and representatives from across the country.
This is a tremendous honor, actually. You know, this is a first for us, this whole team. So we're incredibly excited to be here. The fact that we get to participate in just, in my opinion, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity is just beyond imagination. So we are all excited. As one of our engineers always says, we're pumped.
This 12-wheeled rover is about the size of a pickup truck. It can comfortably house 2 astronauts for up to 14 days, requires little or no maintenance, and can climb over rocks and up 40-degree slopes on the harsh surface of the Moon. The mostly transparent cockpit provides both wide and close-up views for astronauts as they work comfortably in shirt sleeves. Should they want to collect lunar samples, they can quickly enter and exit their spacesuits through suit ports. The cabin is removable, allowing the chassis to carry payloads or be driven by astronauts in spacesuits.
We're looking at electric vehicles, and I think the work we're doing here is going to transfer back to industry and benefit all Americans.
2 members of the 126 crew visited the Stennis Space Center to report on their mission to the International Space Station. Commander Chris Ferguson and Mission Specialist Heidi Marie Stefanition Piper shared mission highlights with Stennis employees and reporters in the Stenosphere Auditorium.
The main engines worked as advertised. We had no anomalies. And that just goes to show that you guys did a great job and provided us with a great product.
Traveling aboard Space Shuttle Endeavour, they delivered a reusable logistics module, equipment, and supplies that'll help the ISS support a crew of 6. They also brought astronaut Sandy Magnus to the station and returned Expedition 1718 flight engineer Greg Shamatov to Earth. A compact fiber optic probe developed for the space program is helping doctors detect cataracts. The new device, based on a laser-like technique called dynamic light scattering, or DLS, was initially developed to analyze the growth of protein crystals in zero-gravity space. It simply and safely measures a protein linked to cataract formation. It's the first non-invasive early detection device for cataracts, which is the leading cause of vision loss worldwide. Dr. Rafat Ansari, senior scientist at the Glenn Research Center, brought the technology's potential to the attention of National Eye Institute researchers after learning that his father's cataracts were caused by changes in lens proteins.
potential applications are amazing and very huge. So this and some related technologies that we developed here at NASA are now helping us to study not just the lens of the eye for the cataract, but also to look at the disease of the brain, which is, say, Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease. And we could study that through the lens of the eye as well, because the beta amyloid proteins, which are the culprits for Alzheimer's disease, are somehow, I do not know the biochemistry of it, but somehow are expressed in the eye tissues as well.
People with these changing lens proteins may be able to reduce their risk of cataracts by modifying their lifestyle, such as by decreasing sun exposure or quitting smoking. Regional kickoffs are underway for this year's For Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology, or FIRST, robotics competitions. The Stennis Space Center hosted its region's event for the 5th straight year. Each of 27 participating high school teams from Florida, Louisiana, and Mississippi were presented a game problem and a parts kit with which to build a robot for FIRST competitions this spring. Regional winners will compete in the FIRST finals in April in Atlanta. FIRST is designed to encourage students to pursue careers in engineering and technology. 40 years ago in NASA history, the Apollo 5 mission was launched from the Kennedy Space Center. This unmanned flight conducted basic systems tests of the Lunar Excursion Module, or LEM. Designed to carry a crew of 2, the LEM would take astronauts from orbit to the lunar surface and back on 6 Apollo missions, the first time on July 20th, 1969.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
And that's this week at NASA. For more on these and other stories, log on to www.nasa.gov.